YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning into today's episode. I have missed you all. I know that it has been a couple of weeks since I have uploaded, and I'm going to talk about it in today's topic, why you haven't heard from me. Those of you all who also listen to my podcast may have noticed that I haven't put out an episode. I haven't been as vocal on social media, and it's been intentional and for good reasons, and I'm going to talk about that. But before we hop into today's episode, my eyes are red. Full disclaimer, I know y'all probably are like, why are her eyes so red? But I have been suffering from allergies and sinuses and asthma and everything that has something to do with that. I know that fall is approaching within the next couple of weeks, but I feel like my allergies have had a jump start, and I'm so sorry. Like, I have been trying to use eye drops and everything that I can to get these eyes together. So I'm not apologizing for my eyes being red, because I can't help that, but I am apologizing that y'all gotta look at it because I know I look crazy. Just want to let y'all know that because I am suffering. So in today's episode, we are talking about the importance of taking a mental break. And that's what I have been doing these last couple of weeks. If you haven't heard from me or haven't seen me, I've been okay, y'all. I have just been taking a mental break to decompress and to sit through some things in my life. So it came about because about 3-4 weeks ago, I just started to lose energy, and I was working and I was going and I was doing everything, and then all of a sudden it felt like I hit a brick wall. And it felt like when I hit that brick wall, I hit it so hard that I just was not able to get up. And I felt like it has taken me weeks to get back up from hitting that brick wall. And I've had to do a lot of different things within these last couple of weeks to get back to where I am now. And I'm going to talk about that today. But y'all, I just felt like I was out for the count. And I was like, why am I just exhausted? At first I was like, maybe it's just a physical exhaustion. So I started to take some naps, and I started to, on the weekends stay in. I mean, I wasn't really going anywhere anyways, but just intentionally staying in. Do not leave your house. Lay on the couch, watch TV, lay in the bed, watch TV. Don't worry about anything. Just take a physical break. So I did that for about 2 weekends, which was like, equivalent to 2 weeks. And I would come home from work every day, and I would just take a break. I would just lay in the bed, watch TV, snack on something, and mind my own business. But I still felt like I was just exhausted, because the next morning I would wake up and still not want to get out of bed. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to do anything. And I'm like, what is going on with me? So I was like, well, maybe it's like mental exhaustion. So I started with, I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to be on social media. I'm going to take a break from social media. I'm not going to pay attention to it unless I have to just communicate with people. But I'm not going to scroll timelines. I'm not going to look at people's feeds. I'm not going to check my Explore page and see what I can just get into. I'm not even going to worry about any of that. I'm just going to focus on social media for like work-related stuff. And just, if it's not work-related, not worry about it. Did that for a couple of days, and I'm like, I'm still exhausted. Like, I am just mentally exhausted. So I'm like, well, you know what? These last 2 months have been a lot emotionally. People have been taking you through some drama, and it's been a lot of drainage emotionally. So I'm like, maybe that's it. So I just disconnected from people. People who were hitting my phone. I'm like, if it is an emergency or something that's really important that I need to answer and pertaining to work or something you need, not really gonna really respond. So if you're just trying to have like a casual conversation or just hit me up because you're bored, like, not really responding to people. So I'm just doing all these different things, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I was still exhausted, so I even started to take some type of like supplements. Like, I started to get some multivitamins and things like that. My mom was like, maybe you just need that energy. And I started to do that, and it started to make me feel better. And I just realized the more and more I disconnected from a lot of stuff, the better and better I started to feel. And eventually I got to this last weekend, and I really sat down and thought about it, and I was like, man, I feel really good this weekend. Like, I feel like I'm getting back to myself. I've had a lot of energy. I'm actually looking forward to creating a podcast episode and a YouTube episode. And I'm like, what all did I do to do that? And it's kind of funny, because when I was doing a series of cutting things out one by one, I didn't realize that I was doing it. I was just trying to figure out what I could do to help me feel better and have more energy. But it wasn't until this past weekend that I thought about everything that I did in the series, and I'm like, these were steps I was taking. I was doing what I needed to do to get back to where I am today. And that made me really, really happy. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to create a YouTube episode about that. So that is what we're going to talk about today. Just the importance of taking a mental break. I always encourage people to take a mental break. I've heard people kind of say that mental breaks are pretty much signs of weakness, that you can't carry a lot of things on your plates. But I want to debunk that right now. Mental breaks are not a sign of weakness. To me, they're a sign of strength. That means that you are self-aware enough to know when you have too much on your plate and when you need to stop, let some stuff off, and take care of yourself before things come falling down, or before you're like me, you hit a brick wall. A couple of weeks ago, when I was like really on social media, I saw this quote, and it said like, Americans are the only, I mean, I messed this up. America is the only country that prides itself in being overworked and overstretching, like pretty much overexhausting themselves, right? And when I saw that a couple of weeks ago, I like didn't think too much of it. I just saw it and I kept scrolling. But, you know, within these last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about that more and more. And it's like, it's kind of true. Like, I don't know about every other country out there, but I do know that, you know, in school, I heard about different countries who intentionally took breaks in the middle of their day, where they would go to work, go to school, come back home in the middle of the day, eat lunch, take a nap, and then they resume their activities. And I remember when I heard that back when I was in school, I was like, what? Like, you literally leave work, leave school, come take a nap, then go back. Like me, I would not want to go back. I would want to just stay in bed, stay where I'm at, and just enjoy the rest of my day at home. And then I would talk to a lot of my friends who were from other cultures and customs, and they would say, yeah, like we have times we have designated naps, or we go to bed super early, or we do all these things because rest is very important. And, you know, looking at that quote now, I think about that. I remember when I was in school, and I'm not even talking about only college, when we were in high school and middle school, the more involved you can say that you were, like the more successful you were. So if you were involved in all the extracurricular activities, you were an AP student, you were on the honor roll, you were on the reading board, you were like all these different things, you were considered the most accomplished students. And I remember that, you know, trickled into high school, where, you know, not only are you super involved in things and you're on the honor roll, you have the best SAT scores, so you're going to all the different classes to get your best SAT scores, you're working, you have a part-time job, like you're hustling. And I just remember like that was the type of energy I surrounded myself with in high school, so I easily became that type of student. And it worked out. I got into a good college, but it's like when I got to college, that was times 10. It's like not only are you in school full time, you're a double major, you're a double minor, you're working, you're interning, you're over this organization, you're pledging this fraternity or sorority. It's like the more booked you were, the more your agenda had, more things to do, the better off you were. And I suffered plenty of mental exhaustion moments in college, but I didn't afford myself to appreciate rest then, because I was just too focused on being above and beyond. And, you know, get into the working world, and it's not as harsh, but it's the same thing. You know, I go to work, but I have 10 other things on my plate on top of trying to, you know, take care of bills and take care of your family and take care of all these different things. And again, I don't know how true that quote is, but it just helped me put into perspective. It's always been that way for me and anyone that I know that is a part of my culture. The more overworked you are, the more successful you are. And I do believe that hard work does breed like a lot of success, and that you're gonna have to put in long hours and you're gonna have to like exhaust yourself in certain type of places in your life to get what you want. But I don't think that that should come at the expense of resting and taking a mental break when you need it. And that's why I feel that it's very important to be able to say that to you all. One of the first things that you're doing when you take a mental break is you are giving yourself time to rest. And rest is very important. I don't think that it's by chance that, you know, people in our culture are dying earlier and earlier. You know, I was reading this article about a law student who, she was like in her early 20s, like I am, who had a stroke. And she had to drop out of law school and she had to take care of herself. You know, I've unfortunately have been reading more and more about people who are my age or closer to my age who are dealing with strokes and having heart attacks and having all these different things. And I don't feel like all of that just contributes to a poor diet or maybe just hereditary things. I believe a lot of that also attributes to We are just taught to overwork and overextend ourselves to be the best. And in some cases, that is great. You want to put in more work to be the best, but you don't want to literally kill yourself just to be the best. And I'm never going to tell anyone how to live their lives. I'm going to merely give advice and to tell people what I've seen happen and what can happen if they continue to act in those ways. But I'm never going to tell anyone to not work hard and not overexhaust yourself. I'm just going to recommend that you don't do it because it doesn't breed anything but health issues. And it's so sad to see people who are so young have to go through those things. And it's because we don't value resting. We feel like if we spend a weekend inside away from the social life and a weekend inside away from all the stuff that keeps you booked and busy, that you're not being productive. But taking care of yourself is productivity and should be your main priority. And I really want to encourage you all to remember that. Like, when your body and your mind is telling you to rest, it is important. Listen to it. It's kind of like I was saying in another episode. You want to listen to energy. You want to listen to your body to text bad energy. You want to listen to your body is asking you to take a break. And that's what I need to get better at. So when I'm telling y'all to do it, I'm telling myself to do it too. Because unfortunately, it took me hitting a brick wall to where I physically couldn't do anything to know that I needed to rest. And the sad part is, when I hit the brick wall, it's not even like I couldn't get up. I didn't want to get up. I just wanted to lay there because I had overexhausted myself that much. And you know, when I began to overexhaust myself, my body wouldn't even physically allow me to rest. Like, I was trying to lay down at night and go to sleep, and I couldn't go to sleep because I have like a bajillion things in my mind just circling, things you need to do, things you need to take care of, things you need to think about, like all these different things. And I'm like, man, I'm never gonna rest. And then that stresses you out even more because you want to rest and you can't rest, but you laying in the bed, so you need to rest. And then you got to get up in the morning, but you don't want to get up in the morning. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like, I'm never gonna get out of this. And it's really sad, that we have to get to that point. So I want to encourage you all, take a mental break, because it is important to rest. You need to physically rest and you need to mentally rest. And that might look like something like what I had to do: cutting out social media, turning the TV off after 9 o'clock, not talking on the phone after a certain time of the night, like literally cutting out things in your life that will allow you to rest. Like, I have a lot of friends who will call me and be like, girl, I'm so tired. And I'm like, oh, why are you so tired? And they're like, because I've just been going out and going to work and going out and going to work and going out. And for me, the simple solution is don't go out. Like, it's just simple. Like, things that you don't have to do that exhaust you, don't do them. Just take a break. But everyone doesn't want to do it, and that's okay. Like I said, I don't judge nobody. I'm just merely saying, if there is something that you can not do, that you don't have to do, and is causing you to be tired or contributing to your exhaustion, it's probably wise to cut those things out and sit your butt at home and rest. And I can't stress that enough, you all, because your body needs that. I'm an introvert, and I know that I have a very extroverted attitude, but I'm very much an introvert, meaning I need time at home to rejuvenate. More importantly, I need time alone to rejuvenate. And I need those things because I'll never have energy unless I have time to kind of like rejuvenate. I kind of look at it as like charging myself, putting myself in like an outlet, and I'm charging my battery up, and I need that time to be able to do that. So if you know that you're somebody who needs that as well to be able to rest, I want to encourage you to do that. Also, taking a break gives you some mental clarity. I know these last couple of weeks when I have been taking a break, I was kind of beating myself up because I'm like, man, you're really tired, but you really need to push a podcast episode. You really need to get in front of the camera and get on YouTube. Like, you don't want to let that stuff fall. You're putting in a lot of effort. You're being consistent. You don't want to be inconsistent and lose your audience. But I had to think, what's more important in this moment? Getting some rest or trying to force myself to be here in front of you all and force it like I have it all together right now, and I don't. I'm tired. So I made the mental decisions to just stay away from it right now, to give myself energy. That way, when I come back in front of you all, I'm in right standing. And it's kind of crazy because thinking about my podcast and thinking about my YouTube channel and how I'm not, on it and not really giving you all any of my time right now made me think of the things that I wanted to do differently. I know that I have been talking about, especially for my podcast, that I wanted to start bringing on new guests for my podcast for season 2. And I hadn't had the opportunity to do that within the last couple of months because I've just been pushing episodes on my YouTube channel. But I'm like, but this was a goal that you had. Stepping away from my podcast and my YouTube channel for a couple of weeks allowed me to be able to set some stuff in place to achieve that goal. So even though I wasn't posting on social media, I was interacting with different people through my DMs, reaching out to people saying, hey, would love to have you on my podcast. Here's some topics. And I'm booking people and I'm putting people on the calendar. And I'm so excited because I'm like, man, like, I wouldn't have been able to do this if I kept just pushing the episode. Like, it took me taking a step back to remember that I had a goal in the first place that I wanted to achieve and that I needed to achieve it. And that's what I want to tell you all that mental breaks can do for you. It can give you clarity. Sometimes it helps you remember that you've had 10 goals that you haven't even gotten to one of them. Or it helps you remember why you started a goal and what you need to do to get back to that goal. If there are some specific steps that you need to take, some things that you need to write down, plan out to be able to achieve those goals, when you take a mental break and you block out everything around you, you allow yourself time to be able to do that so that you can work that much harder towards achieving your goal. So when you think about like taking a mental break, it doesn't always mean just laying in the bed and just watching TV. Sometimes it means just cutting out all the outside forces, cutting out all the noise and focusing on what you need to do for yourself. And that's what I did. Like, my first week of my mental break was just purely resting. I didn't want to think about anything. I just wanted to watch some TV and just rest. Stuff that I hadn't been allowing myself to do in a long time. Then my second and third week, I was like, okay, let's get a little bit more productive. What are some things that you have been wanting to do that you haven't had the opportunity to do because you've been so focused on all these other things? And one of those main things, again, was my podcast and getting guests on it. I've been wanting to do that. And I've been doing that. And, one of my first guests comes on next week. And I'm super excited about it. And that's what you have to do. You have to find clarity. I also picked up some books to read. Y'all, I have been reading through my mental break. I haven't read in a very long time, and I beat myself up about it because I'm like, you should be reading. You want to know all this stuff, but you never pick up a book because you never have time. But when I cut out social media, that cut out several hours of my day, and coming home and just literally sitting down and resting allowed me time to pick up a book. So I have been reading, and that has been so beneficial for me. I have been picking up on some things that I wanted to educate myself on, and it's been a lot of fun. And more importantly, when I read, I get sleepy, so I go right to sleep and I can rest good at night. So taking a mental break is really good for some clarity as well. Taking a mental break is pretty much like a reset. It's kind of like when you have a device that's not working and you need to hard reset it, press that red button, or you need to turn it off and turn it back on. You're giving it a new breath of fresh life. And that's what I want to tell you all. It's just super important to do that. Even when you're not extremely exhausted, it's never a bad idea to just stop everything that you're doing, if you can, and just figure out what are the things that you want. What are the things that you need that you're not getting? What type of rest do you need? You don't want to take those moments for granted, because if you take those moments for granted, you're forsaking yourself and forsaking, your physical health and all of those things. And later on down the line, sometimes that stuff catches up with you. So you don't want to have to forsake that. You want to get yourself in a routine of being able to do that. So for me, my routine looks like, 1 week, you want to be super busy all the way through the weekend. You want to get everything done that you need to. You want to be super productive. But just know that next weekend, you're resting. You don't want to go nowhere. If somebody invites you, you're off. You don't want to work. You don't want to do anything. And that's really important for me, because that allows me to go 1 week and have no regrets, because I know that my rest is coming. So I want to encourage you all to get to a point where you're doing that for yourself. Go, but make sure that you have scheduled in or set aside a time so that you can take a mental break. Because I always tell y'all, the mind is such a powerful thing, and you don't want to forsake being in a right state of mind. You don't want to take your mental health for granted. And I'm not just saying this because I work in the mental health field. I've just seen it, y'all. I've seen so many people in college and at work just have these breakdowns, and a lot of times people don't bounce back, y'all. So you want to be very intentional about taking care of your mental health. And I talk a lot about energy and spirituality. Like, Like, you want to take care of your emotional health as well, but you want to definitely take care of your mental health. And that encompasses everything around you. And you know, when you're physically not feeling well, you're not going to mentally be well. And when you're not mentally well, you're not going to physically feel well. Like, all this stuff works together. And I don't know why people don't really realize that, but all this stuff works together. So not only did I have to like rest physically and take vitamins to get energy, I had to cut out all the noise from social media and people in my life. I had to emotionally cut some stuff out so it can stop draining me. Like, I had to do all those different steps to get to where I am now, where I feel holistically energized and I feel rejuvenated. And you all can feel the same way. So if you all value, you know, mental breaks, if you all take mental breaks and y'all like it, let me know what y'all do. Leave a comment below. Let me know some of the things that y'all do. Let me know if you don't do it and you can use some tips. Like, we're all here sharing together. You all know I love when you all give me feedback, so definitely let me know what y'all feeling. Do y'all agree with mental breaks? Do y'all feel like it's a great thing, if it's a strength? And if you do, let me know why. I always thank you all for tuning into my videos. Again, I'm going to continue to be consistent with you all because I definitely appreciate the support and the love that you all show towards me. Share this video with anyone who can use this message. Share this video with anyone who can use a break. And as always, thank you all so much for tuning into my episodes.